Hello and a warm welcome to you in TV land, including those who are going to watch later. This is Focus on Liberia. Happy Easter Sunday on this Resurrection Sunday. As we, the Christians, would say, we want to welcome you to Focus on Liberia. And this is a brand new day. We have a brand new show, a debut today on Focus on Liberia, and we are glad to have you. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. I want to welcome my colleague, Mr. Ansony Sieh, who is in Studio 8, all the way there in Minneapolis. Ansony, welcome to Focus on Liberia, and this is a new day.
It is a new day. I feel so welcome. I'm always happy to be here at Focus on Liberia. I will always say it's about educating, it's about elevating and promote all things Liberia. Well, happy Easter to those who are followers of Comrade Jesus. I know it's a special day. I usually hear, well, he has risen, he has resurrected, and Christ has resurrected for those who follows Comrade Jesus Christ. He's a good friend of mine. I think I read about him. Well, today is a new day, a brand new edition here. Focus on Liberia, brand new program, by the way. And Dennis, who would rather have to be the host of this brand new program that is debuting today at Focus on Liberia, other than our own dear sister, Priscilla Nyenator. I'm happy to be here, Dennis. You are muted, buddy. See, that thing about
thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Sieh. We are happy to announce the debut of a brand new show called The New Day, presented by Priscilla Nyenator. Priscilla, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Ansony. Yeah, thanks.
And we at Focus on Liberia, our core is to educate, to elevate, and promote. And of late, we always, as we get criticized, as we get suggestions, we try to improve and do better on our line of programming. So we have added a brand new show that is going to be addressing women and gender issues. And we have contacted, and she has accepted to do this for us, and her name is Priscilla Nyenator. I will go to Ansony, who's going to introduce Priscilla and the new day. This is a new day, and when is the best time for it to happen? Then on Resurrection Sunday. Ansony call him Comrade Jesus. I call him my Lord and my Savior.
Thank you, Dennis. And again, like Dennis said, New Day is a brand new program here at Focus on Liberia, and we are happy to welcome a dear sister and now a partner, Priscilla Nyenator, who will be the host of this program, A New Day here at Focus on Liberia. A little about Priscilla. In 2020, she got a certificate for domestic violence advocacy. And also she is the founder of New Day. New Day is a women rights advocacy organization, and she's an advocate there and also a writer at New Day. Since 2021 to present, she is a victims advocate at an institution called Call to Peace Ministry. And she is now today the host of New Day here at Focus on Liberia that will be coming on every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And she is a journalist. She's a writer. And again, I can't emphasize that she is a women's rights advocate. And because this is what she will be doing here, trying to bring about women issues, gender issues, and how they affect women for the most part, or the emphasis will be on women. Again, Priscilla, welcome. And to our listening audience, we want to say welcome to New Day. It's New Day here at Focus on Liberia.
Definitely a new day with Priscilla Nyenator, the social justice advocate, with emphasis on women and girls. And we'll be discussing women, and I've been challenging her. What are women issues? Even if I'm hungry, that's a woman issue. But we're going to get into it. Priscilla, welcome, and let's get your closing statement your opening statement, even before we can begin the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Anthony, for the opportunity to partner with this great platform. The Focus on Liberia. I've been following the Focus on Liberia for some time, and it was just an honor to have Dennis reaching out and said, "Hey, how can we work together?" So I started to look into focus on Liberia programs, to identify. I didn't want to duplicate something that is already happening because Focus on Liberia is already really doing greatly in a lot of different issues that affect us as a people, as a nation, and beyond the borders of Liberia. So I started to just look into the programs to identify areas for intervention. And then I found out that Dennis and the rest of the team have really been doing some good work when it comes to flagging women issues. There are really some great shows from far back as I think 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know, but yeah, I remember giving Dennis feedback, and he was like, "Oh, you are going all the way back." So I was able to go through those programs, and then, but you know, most times the politicians' stories kind of take a lot of our time, and there hasn't been so much of talking about these issues, and we cannot emphasize the need to talk about them more. So then I got back to the team and said, "Hey, you have been doing some good work around this area, but a lot more need to be done. So, I can step in." And so they just embraced that. And I'm just so humble to have this great team partnering with me so that we can provide more enlightenment on the issues that affect women and girls.
Thank you so much. And again, we are happy to have you partnering with us here as we do what we attempt to do here, that is education, elevation, and promotion of all things. Like somebody asked me, say, well, why Liberia? I say, look at Liberia, two for one as a country, and two, the original idea for the establishment of Liberia, which is a place of refuge for all people of African descent who want freedom. And so that concept, we are focusing on that concept. And in order to have the freedom and make Liberia the oasis in Africa, women issues are germane to the discussion. Again, let me ask you, I know, and I follow you too, doing a lot of videos and things on social media. And I see that you have been highlighting some issues. I like when you go into history and try to link them with today. So tell me and our audience some of those things that you've been doing already doing on social media and how that pertains to what you intend to do here at Focus on Liberia.
Okay, so sometimes I do some posts, blog posts, and then other times I do videos. So I started doing videos on Wednesdays or eh, presentation or Bible studies. On Thursdays, actually, I started on Wednesdays, and then my pastor at the time called me and said, "Can you move your program to Thursdays because Wednesday we need you at the church?" Wednesday was Bible study. I was playing an important role in church. So I moved that to Thursday for Bible studies so that we can look into the Word of God to see the intent and purpose and the original will of God for the equality of all of humanity. So that was on Thursday, and on Saturdays we were looking at contemporary women issues, and policy issues and women around the world. So we did that for 2 years or almost 3 years now. So yeah, so that's what has been happening so far. And then recently we decided to look more into history, Asian history. And before we started, I was telling you, um, because like Dr. Broad said, uh, um, wrote in one of his books to me, and I like that, is that the stories of people who come before us, we need to learn their stories so that the knowledge we get from them will help us to carve our path to the future. This when I hear he says I was, I'm just paraphrasing, but what he was saying is that the knowledge we get about people who were here before us will kind of enlighten us and inspire us. So I started to look into uh, Asian African women history. One of the reasons is that a lot of the times we get people telling us that, and it kind of started beginning to sound kind of offensive to me, or sometimes patronizing, even when it comes from European, because we get people telling us that African women as a servant, and so we some of us come to the U.S. and started to copy or imitate
Uh,
uh, European women or Western women. So it started to sound like, okay, so we do not know what best for us. So there's been nothing good that have come from, Africa, or African women don't think for themselves. So I started to look into Asian African history to
Thank you.
find out whether it's true that yeah, African women have just been subservient from the beginning of time. And it's amazing to discover that the things that you discover of our foremothers, of our ancestors, it just will blow your mind to find out that these are the kind of people that you and I came from. And
Thank you.
today, because we forgot where we came from, other people define us.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Priscilla. That is something that I like when you want to talk about our forefathers, our ancestors, our history, our culture, our traditional values, and how those things make up who we are. But at some point, it's like we have forgotten them. And New Day is going to be bringing a perspective with emphasis on women rights, women involvement, and women participation. Well, let us first of all, and audience, the Jews here, I like this Jews thing. Jews is that meat, uh, that value, that education, that core in anything that you do that gives a meaning. And so we will come to the Jews of the program, the New Day, but let us get out the outlay for New Day. And Presidio, the goal here of Noonday, the program Noonday that you will be hosting here, is understanding the impact of gender roles and relationship on women and girls, and by extension, all right, the growth and development in Liberia. Why is this goal so important? And I see that the emphasis is going to be on women and girls, and you're linking it to development and the growth of Liberia. Why?
Well, because as we go through the program,
Mhm.
we will come to unpack or just take a peek into history, and you will come to find out that um, the the level of advancement that the Asian Africans made
Mhm.
um, can be traced to how they work together, the
Mhm.
symbiotic relationship between the genders.
Okay.
Yes. So I feel that the world is being denied of a huge potential gap. When the world sidelined women, and to bring it to Liberia, when Liberia restricts women through different religious organizations in Liberia, different religious structures in Liberia, you see that, and through some of our harmful traditional practices, you see that a lot of benefit is being denied the society at large. So I think it will lead to development if we all understand that as we collaborate more, as we create space more, uh, there is more for us to achieve, a lot more to be achieved than what we already have achieved as a people.
Okay.
There is the issue, for instance, there is the issue of this 30% gender quota in a legislature, for example. And there is a lot of debate about why should we give, there is just different debates about why should this be. And we need to have these kind of conversations to understand what we stand to achieve, what we stand to benefit as a society. That's what the new day conversation platform is about.
So all this good information, the both people always want to identify the targeted group, and there's a reason they do that. So talk to us for this very good information, the good program. Uh, who are the targeted groups and why you are targeting these groups?
Well, I think the policymakers,
Mhm,
hopefully they listen to us.
mhm,
Um, but from time to time, we're going to be inviting. The good thing is that we have been behind the scene, the team and I, including you and Dennis, we've been reaching out. So we'll
mhm,
continue to do that. So policymakers, they are what we consider them as the duty bearers. They they are a target group because they shift the policy, they shift laws, they make laws and that govern us. We need laws. We need policies that are going to favor our advocacy, that are going to support, that's going to back up the advocacy, so that when we talk about, we need to be included in spaces equally. We need to be considered. The humanity of women need to, the full humanity of women need to be considered, so that we cannot be pointed to the law and say, well, but the law says that women cannot do this. So we need. We're going to be targeting policymakers and have them on the table so that we can you know ask questions, so that we can think together, so that we can provoke, stimulate discussions, and so that they can hear from the public. The public is also a target of this program, mainly the public. The reason is because I think even if we have policies, we have good laws, um, we are not really going to make much of a difference when people mindset are not changed, or there is a shift in mindset. And we can only do that if we talk to each other. Otherwise, everyone stay in the mindset. So conversations are important so that we can be able to work things out together. I don't know. I hope that makes sense.
No,
So
it
the
makes sense.
public
It
is
makes sense
is
to me.
okay. Thank you. So the public and policymakers and religious leaders as well, or religious authorities. Religious leaders, whether Christian, Muslim, and traditional leaders. So they hold a lot of power. They really do hold a lot of power and influence in our over our lives. So these people dictate how they brought us up. They told us what is value and what isn't value, what we should hold sacred and what we shouldn't hold sacred. So it's good that we're going to be inviting them as well. We have a few of them lined up that consented and said, "Oh, this is a great idea. We can talk about it," because they see what is happening in the society. GBV issue is a really national concern. It's a huge national concern right now. SGBV is just off the chart. Rape and violence and domestic violence are just off the chart in Liberia. So these people, they want an avenue where we can be able to reason together
Mm.
and find a solution together. So yeah, so traditional leaders and religious leaders are all
Yeah,
going to be, yeah, our target.
yeah, and re- religious leaders, traditional leaders. I know you touched on it a little bit, but why is this group, especially religious leaders, why is that group so important in this discussion? What are some of the issues that are found in the churches, in the mosques, and other religious settings that make you think that discussing them or bringing them to this conversation is vital?
Religious leaders, it depends on the religion. They are the ones that teach us. They are the one that teach us, like I said, what a whole sacred and what is it, and what you've been told to hold, what you've been taught to hold sacred is what you hold sacred. Uh, but then, and there is a good side and there is a bad side. I think there is, as in any case, or any ideology, there is there are pros and cons. So I'm from a Christian worldview, so I'm going to speak as a Christian. Um, Christianity, when it becomes toxic, it teaches that women are inferior. Christianity, when it becomes toxic, it teaches fear more. It teaches fear, you know, for to get obedience from people. It teaches people, and if you don't conform certain way, you're going to go to hell. Uh, and this is particularly used against women, um, in a way that to keep them silent, to keep them unquestioning, to keep them in line with what patriarchy wants. So Christianity, when it is framed, when it is presented, when it is practiced from the framework of patriarchy, it is really toxic. So we targeted religious leaders so that we can reason together. They have taught us that, oh, it is a good thing to reason together, to study the Bible together. Um, so we want to do that. We want to create space to do that. We think it's time that
Priscilla,
believers.
if I may interject, because you talk about, I'm also familiar with the Bible, and you say Christianity, when it becomes toxic, it teaches us to do X, Y, Z. I give you an example. And this morning I was talking to my wife that cook me some plenty. You know, I'm the head of this home. Sarah called Abraham Lord, so you should be calling me Lord, right? And if we go in the New Testament, it said the women should be quiet, the line is silent, okay? Because temptation to man came through the woman, you know. So give me some. I don't know whether you are targeting me now because my woman should call me Lord.
Yeah, so those are some of the things we're going to be talking about. And the thing is, it's not really you as an individual.
Okay.
Is it's something that we've all been socialized to do. So even if you didn't tell your wife that this morning, there is a man somewhere, and chances are there were more than one man somewhere that told a woman or expected a woman to conform to that kind of mindset. Cook me something. In fact, you should be calling me Lord. In fact, Sarah, using those kind of justification that you handpicked. So it is the socialization that we're going to be interrogating. That's what this new day is about. Let's interrogate some of those things. Is it really true? Did Sarah actually call Abraham her Lord and Savior? Did the Bible said it? Is any other thing? The Bible usually sometimes we equip it to God. What is the Bible? We're going to be talking about what is the Bible and what is God. What are the differences? Like recently, we were talking, and you asked me, we're talking about church. You said, "Oh, you're not going to church. You verse with God," and jokingly, then I was like, Dennis, I don't equip God and church are not the same. So those are the kind of conversations we're going to be having. What does the Bible say? And who's saying that in the Bible, you know? And then what did God said about what was said in the Bible about this particular situation? Those are the kind of conversations
I
that we
can't
have.
wait. I can't wait. And Priscilla, let me even take a step back because we see a lot of you are a social justice advocate with emphasis on women and girls. You discuss women issues. So I have two questions. Really, because we see a lot of justice advocate, women advocate online and everywhere. What does it mean when you say you're a social justice advocate? And what are women issues?
Okay. Thank you. So social issues are our everyday issues that affect us. Um, Justice is the right and wrong of those issues, and the fairness. Justice have to do with the fairness of those issues. And as a Christian, I don't. I'm sorry. That's another debate I'm going to instigate if I start to say I'm not a Christian. But I want, so let me just define it. I don't subscribe to a lot of principles and values of mainstream Christianity. So, but let me say, as someone who studied Jesus Christ and want to follow his teaching, you see that Jesus Christ was a social advocate, social justice advocate. I'm sorry. Um, because there are a lot of unfairness in the way his society, the leaders executed the law. You know, they were selective in enforcing the law when it came to gender, and when it came to um people who are less privileged. And those are the population that Jesus Christ advocated for. For instance, there is the issue with the woman who they brought and said, oh, she was caught in adultery. And that is a justice issue. So, because we all know that adultery cannot be committed by a single person. It's an entanglement of two persons, unless you say you caught her masturbating, right? But you must have caught her in the act of adultery, mean you must have caught her with someone else. But then a woman is brought and they want the Lord to take a course on only this lady. So Jesus Christ had to point out the hypocrisy. So the way they were rendering the law in an unfair way, it wasn't balanced. That is a justice issue. Another justice issue that Jesus Christ addressed was the issue of uh, not educating the girl child. So these people taught only their boys, children. I don't know what scenario to compare it with now when it comes to our person. Okay, if you've seen how they take the children to learn the Quran. They take them to someone who know the Arabic well to teach children. And I see boys and girls all sitting at the teacher place and they are reciting. So I think I can compare it with that those days. But it took only the boys. They sent only the boys to learn the Jewish laws. So girls were not educated. They weren't allowed. But then when Jesus Christ came, he just didn't conform to a lot of things. So he really went against. He really fought against the status quo. He said he did his own thing. He taught women along with guys. The Bible is silent about his female disciples. But if you check in, I think it's Luke. Let me see. If you look in Luke, you will see. Um, so he taught he had all these women followers that the Bible wouldn't name unless they were very prominent women, but a few of them they would name. So give me a second. So yeah, but there was Susanna, there was there was there was a few other women that the Bible
Yeah.
would name that he taught along with his male disciples, because Luke will tell you they follow him. They went from place to place where he was evangelizing, or whatever you call it. Um, so if you want to follow Jesus Christ, if you consider yourself a Christian, I think that's where you should borrow your map for doing what is right and what is wrong. So I really don't think that Christianity or mainstream Christianity is something that Jesus himself is going to be proud of. The good thing is that even though mainstream Christianity try to individualize Jesus, that Jesus is only for them, and the good thing is that Jesus wasn't a Christian. So I don't think if Jesus came today, he's going to just identify with one group. I think the principles and values that Jesus practiced and preached they are universal.
Mm.
So anyone who wants to be a social justice advocate can just learn from his examples and his
Mm.
teachings. Uh, um,
Yeah.
so I don't know whether I stayed with your question or I went off, but I have the tendency to do that. That's what I like to take note.
Thank you. And I like, the way you answer the question in a much more detailed way, and even providing that Comrade Jesus um, was a social justice advocate. That's what I call him, Comrade Jesus.
And
Some of these people,
Anthony, she also said if Jesus were to come today, he may not go to church.
No,
yeah,
it's not. I'm sorry, Dennis. Let me come in. Can I
okay,
come in quick? It's not. I
please,
don't think he may not. I think he just wouldn't even go to church
Oh
because
wow. I think
because
that was
Dennis
hmm
because Dennis, see, for example, where did Jesus do his ministry? Jesus started, when he was much younger. Okay, he would follow his parents, they would go to the temple. But he got to the point where I think he just got fed up and said, no, these people, they're not doing, I'm done with this. Where did he start going to start? He wasn't even starting a church, but he started talking to people. He started going in places like West Point along the beach where the people washing their net, doing their fish, and started talking to them and say, hey, hello, Peter, and started recruiting those kind of people. And then those are the kind of environment he went on the fringes and the margin of society. He didn't start a church. He wasn't frequent in the temple unless he wanted to call out the religious establishment. He would go there and say, you are so much hypocrite. Look at that old widow, look at that old lady, she put it in her last cent for offering. Because while you're demanding that people make offering, even though and as someone who had the spirit of God and discernment, he saw that it was her last. Most of these people who went to put in something, they have much more. So what they have, they were putting in, but they wanted to present it like that's how it should be. But you're doing that because you have so much abundance. That's why you're putting in. But if you present it like that's how it's supposed to be, otherwise God frowns on you. You constrain an old lady who, after she leave from here, it's not even going to get anything else to eat. She has to put that in. So those kind of things, Jesus observed them. Someone hand widow, and Jesus want to help them, and then he does that, and then the leader say, why they can't? They should come another day. Why they can't? Why should you do that on a Sabbath? I mean, that is a human being who just got healing. You would think that you would say, let the church say amen, and they will be rejoicing. But no, people were very excited about good things being done, to someone who is in pain or suffering. People just wanted to keep a system, or and they wanted to keep a set of rules and tradition, and then Jesus Christ had to tell them these rules and traditions that you so rigid about, they were made for human being and not human being for them. That's why he was saying when he said the Sabbath was made for human, not the human for Sabbath. So you don't let people die just because you got to keep a Sabbath. No, the most important thing to God is human being. Human being is important. Then every other thing follow. So Jesus Christ had to leave the temple and start going about. This is Luke saying here. Uh, so this is Luke chapter 8 from 1 to 3. Luke 8 from 1 to 3. Soon afterward, Jesus began a tour of the nearby towns and villages, preaching and announcing. So he went to towns and villages, announcing the good news about the kingdom of God. He took his 12 disciples with them, and along with some women. You know how uh, um, the language we use. Men are the real human being. Every other thing is an addition. So they just say along with some women who have been killed of evil spirit and diseases. And this is another conversation we're going to have. How the angel-centric language about women in the Bible, how it malign women. Like sometimes they are described as women feel killed of evil spirit and diseases. Really, but then the men were all okay. They just happened to have met Jesus Christ and they were cool. But the women they only were hanging out because these were people who had diseases, who were full of diseases and evil spirits. And especially most times we attribute that to Mary Magdalene, not even understanding the concept, the background. Did she really have evil spirit, or was it just epilepsy? And since at that during those days they had not discovered where epilepsy meant, or was she schizophrenic? What was going on? But anyway, let me now move off track. Let me stay with this reading. So among them were Mary Magdalene, from whom he had cast out 7 demons. So that's what I was trying to say when they talking about demons. What actually are they referring to as demons here? There was Joanna, and the wife of Joseph, Herod's business manager. There was Susanna and many others who were contributing from their own resources to support Jesus and his disciples. So you will notice that the women that are named, they were apparently prominent women who could afford. And there were just a huge number of them that are not named here.
Yeah.
But these were the backbone of Jesus Christ's ministry. And as he taught his disciples in private, he also taught them, and he didn't separate and say, and one thing I
Priscilla,
always tell people when they say, "Oh, go and be silent and wait for your husband to speak," I'm like, I looked through Jesus Christ's interaction. I never saw where he sent a woman, "Go and do not follow me. We're going to this town. Go and get permission from your husband or ask your husband." No,
Priscilla,
this woman. Yes, sir.
save the details when the new day start. This is just the introduction. So don't give them all the meat until the program officially resumes. Folks, you are watching a brand new program here at Focus on Liberia called A New Day, and will be hosted here by Priscilla Nyenator. It will be coming on every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Any changes, we'll let you know, but that is the schedule for now. And the goal of this show is to focus on women and girls issue, general issue, but specifically with emphasis on women and girls issue. We're going to be looking at the Bible, what the Bible says concerning women issue. We're going to be looking at theology, what it says about women. We're going to be looking at culture. We're going to be looking at history. We're going to be looking at traditional African teaching and culture and values. And that's the one that I like. So let's go to that. Let's leave Comrade Jesus alone. He was a good guy. I like him. And I like the way he said that if he show up today, he might not even go to the church. And then he's not happy about it because he's a church boy. Look what's happening in the church. I don't want to open that book right now. Let us come to the traditional side. You said the targeted group. And another place we're going to learn a lot concerning issues that affect women will be African traditional studies, culture, and all that. So what is the basic understanding now, myth, if you like, how people perceive the teaching of African values when it comes to women, that New Day will be throwing light on to bring some understanding?
Okay, thank you, Anthony. So let me just close with Dennis' question. Then I'll go to that. So
You did sufficient with that. Leave Dennis alone. You'll be okay.
okay, so yeah, so Dennis, Jesus Christ advocated for women education, and I want that as well. By going against the system and teaching women. And so yeah, so that is that. We'll leave it hanging, like Anthony say. We can go into that later. But Jesus Christ didn't establish Christianity. He didn't establish a religion. So I am not sure he is going to go to a church. In fact, the churches will kill each other if Jesus picked one above the other. Then that would be a whole case of hurricane, because this one that he going to now will say, we are the really God-given church. And then it was the Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go to the issue of this perception that African tradition keeps women, subjugate women. So when we look at the role of Asian African women, when you study history, you will see that the women of Asian Africa led diverse and decisive roles in the communities. I did a presentation a few weeks ago in the New Day community where we trace the practices and accomplishment of women in Asian Africa. We look at how their spiritual, the political, and the economic roles shaped the society at the time. And it's important to learn about these development so that we can be able to honor the past of African women and be able to restore uh, uh, the dignified place in history, in world history. And also, it is important to learn the history of the African women so as to address our misperception of African culture being a culture that subordinate women. Like I quoted, I tried to quote Dr. Burris when I started by saying that he says to learn about the past will enlighten our now and the future. So if we do not look into the history of our ancestors and we insist on this mindset that, oh, you're an African woman, you're an African woman and you're supposed to be subservient, and we use that justification to keep women down, then how are we different from the Europeans who use the justification? Because we're saying inherently, as an African woman, you are subservient. As an African woman, you are less intelligent. You are less human. You need to be controlled. You need to be subdued. You need to be subordinated, right? Uh, then we're not even different from the Europeans who use that justification to enslave Africans and to colonize us when they told themselves, oh, these people need to be controlled. These people need to be told what is right for them. These people need to be subjugated. So that's what I think is important to study our history, to learn how our ancestors, for instance, ancient Egypt in Nubia, how they led the Asian world, how they influenced civilization in different parts of the world through the concept of what they refer to as Maya. And I mean Maya. And Maya was this concept of harmony and balance of gender equality and symbiotic existence for 3,000 years. 3,000 years, women in ancient Egypt were the equals of men in every aspect except a few instances where they agree as a society. You know, in ancient Egypt, women enjoy the same rights under the law as men. The rightful entitlement were dependent upon their social status, not the sex. All land property were descended in a female line from mother to daughter because of the assumption that maternity is a matter of fact and paternity was a matter of opinion. Apparently, at that time, they had not established the whole DNA issue. So a woman was entitled to minister her own property and dispose of them as she wished. So these women, so this society, this world at the time, women could buy, women could sell, women could partner, women could execute their will, women could wait. I mean, women could do a lot more. A few historians that I read about, they conclude by saying, women status in Egypt was incredibly advanced for any time in world history, including the present. These were Africans, but women status were so advanced to the extent, in fact, the women female physicians were so highly respected. The medical school in Alexandria, people from other parts
Priscilla,
of the world
you're giving the
went
Jews.
to Africa, went
You
to Africa to go to the medical school. Like from even Athens, today we only hear about Greek philosophers. Those people were generally
Priscilla,
misogynistic.
keep the Jews. This is your introduction. Keep the Jews. Don't go in details. We love in this program. Let the audience get prepared.
we
Next
want the
week,
audience to come
we
back.
just want you to tease them a little bit. Let them see what is coming. Don't give it to them. It will come. Dennis?
Okay.
Yeah, and Priscilla, we're going to go to comments very soon, but one question here, because we at Focus on Liberia, we get criticized heavily if we have a panel and there is no woman. Quite recently, we did a show on SOE, that's state-owned enterprises, and they were all male partners, and we were I mean, they came at us with force that why no women panelists. So my question to you is on this women representation and also the unique role that Noonday is going to be presenting so as to fill those gaps and to, to save us from criticism too. So what would New Day be doing specifically to address those issues of women representation and also the uh, the role women play in our society? And why is that important?
Well, we're going to be, I think some of the conversations we're going to be having, we want to have is so that we can be able to question some of our internal biases. There are some of there are just biases that we're not actively conscious of,
Yeah.
but they're there, even as a male or a female member of a society. And all of us have them, even as a woman. So if you as a woman has been or girl have been mainly socialized to believe that there are things that you cannot do, for instance, oh, you growing up as a little girl and then uh, you take the radio, your mother tell you take the radio to your father, the men then listening to news, you don't, so men listen to news, for instance, that means they are knowledgeable about politics and stuff, and you're at those kind of little things feed into people, how they see themselves. So to grow up now and then be expected all of a sudden to have the level of confidence that the society have trained you through your parents, through church, or through the mosques, in school, wherever, not to have, not to exhibit, not to expect you to have it, is sometimes it's just a magical thinking.
Mm.
Because I'm not trying to make excuses for why women don't show up, but I need us to investigate, to have conversation where we will be able to interrogate why women shy away, for instance, from a program like the one you just named, or why there aren't many women. And I don't know why your date, whether you were able to actually try to identify women to appear on that. But I know I've heard that a lot where we get to, oh, but the women themselves, like when I was in the media actively, the women themselves, they don't want to exert themselves. The women themselves, they don't want to show up. And then I'm thinking, okay, when women show up, you're calling names. Nobody, in fact, before she even came to that point, she's always been told, like I was always told by my mother, hey, Sadie, man, you will not get husband or Sadie, woman can do this or so you don't grow up now and then all of a sudden and then just be a different person. You are
Mm.
informed by your society. Your
Right.
society form you. You go to school and female teachers, even though they're in a classroom, but they too they carry that uh,
Yeah.
mindset that they're not even supposed to be there, like they're just being accommodated.
Yeah. So
You
what
should.
would New Day do?
So that's New Day is asking us, is inviting us. Say, let's talk about these
Yeah.
issues instead of shifting blame, instead of pointing fingers, instead of you telling me you don't show up and then me I accusing you, you don't invite us, you don't reflect our perspective. Let's have a conversation as to why it is the way it is, you know. And when we get to the root of these kind of things, then we can be able to work it out together and find a solution. Uh, uh, Desmond Tutu said, or there is a quote attributed to him most times, that I like that when I do my domestic violence trainings, that I like to end with, with pastors when they be like, oh, let's talk to the man so he can change. And I'm thinking we can talk to this guy for him to change, or we can give him all the resources. I've gone to workshop, we do that. We talk to men, But then the men gave the report because are in different groups. We do this. We are different support groups. But men will come back and say, "Hey, um, I live in a society that is bigger than me. It's just me. I go home and I want to be a better person. But my friends make fun of me when I go to work, or this month I offer to be able to babysit or take a leave from work. And I was called names and I was told this. So all of those things feed into inform our behavior. So New Day is inviting us, say, come, let's sit down and reason together. Let's talk about things. Why do we act certain way? Why do we think certain way? Why do we hold certain perspective or perception? It's okay to question those things so that we can be able to think critically and advance.
Thank
The
you.
world is evolving. We need to evolve. How do we do that? We have to have communication is key to growth, to development, even as a person and
Thank
then
you.
our society.
Thank you, Priscilla. Take a short break and we'll be right back with our comments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the introduction to our new program, The New Day, hosted by Priscilla Nyenator, who is our guest today. Few comments from those watching. Andrew Bo say this is great. Teddy Lion Yakon say I'm very much interested in the topic, but unfortunately my job starts right now. Siata Townsend said the language in the Bible is so because it is men who wrote and compiled the Bible we have today. Joseph Paul is saying, look, my sister, Jesus Christ's activism was not for earthly political interest or power, but today activism is just for political interest and not getting anything to do really with interest of the poor. Priscilla, I want you to talk about that a little bit because we have a lot of activists here. Joseph saying Jesus' activism was different, but the activism today is for political interest. Quickly.
Well, I think I don't know what is considered political interest or what is considered politics, but I think that the social informs politics. And then they both go together. Politics inform and affect the social as well. So Jesus Christ didn't live, he didn't operate, he didn't advocate in a vacuum. He advocated in a setting or political setting.
Yeah.
He lived in a time where the Roman occupied the place, or there was Roman occupation and they were controlled by the Romans, who just allowed them to operate with their faith as the Jewish population to operate with their faith as long as they didn't go out. So you can do what you need to do in a temple. So they were allowed the space to do that. Now Jesus Christ started going outside of the temple. Now people are calling Jesus Christ King and Lord. That was seen as a threat to the political establishment.
Yeah.
So Jesus Christ was crucified, not because we as Christians, we the one package our narrative as, oh, he was crucified and died for our sin. No, the political establishment crucified him because they saw him as an insurgent, someone who was trying to overthrow.
Yeah.
He was a rebel coming with his own group to how do we refer
To
to
topple the
people
room.
who topple the government or the
Yeah.
political establishment.
Thank
So
you.
yeah,
Let me few more comments here. Joseph Massa says Jesus Christ was a radical change agent and non-conformist who was not afraid to take this on the status quo. The Pharisees were in his crosshair because of the extremely corrupt and hypocritical nature. Joseph
Exactly.
comes back and says, look, my sister, the Bible told us that Jesus had a tradition of always visiting his father's house, I mean the synagogue. So to say Jesus Christ would not go to church today is an error on your part. Hold that thought. Joseph continued, look, brother Sieh, there was so much evil in these synagogues, and Jesus had a tradition of still visiting the synagogue in any way. Massa wrote, Jesus had female disciples. Then Phoebe, the woman at the well, the sisters, Mary and Martha, etc. But the men who wrote the Bible minimized their role. Typical misogynism. Emmanuel says, Happy Easter, Emmanuel as well. Paul is busy, and Paul would like your questions here. Keep writing them. I don't know whether the sister on the show, that's Priscilla Nyenator. I don't know whether Priscilla knows that what Christian mean. It means followers of Jesus. And Jesus Christ said it in the Holy Bible that you should follow me. So it is not bad to be called follower of Jesus. Massa again, but it was the issue of co-rulers in Egypt between Cleopatra and her brother as willed by their father, the late Pharaoh, before he died. That actually started the Egyptian war that dragged into the Romans. Massa continued, women play major roles in ancient Egypt. Alex is watching. There's Alex, thanks for watching. And Massa concludes, going outside of the temple makes it radical. Quickly, we have maybe 10 more minutes. So Priscilla, if you can quickly respond to those comments.
Which one now? Because
you can pick anyone.
Yeah, okay, so let me just say, not that Jesus is not going to visit a church. I'm saying Jesus is not going to be a part, like Jesus wasn't, he didn't restrict himself to temple. Jesus had to walk away from the establishment to start, teaching people. He started doing a one-on-one. And I didn't say that it is a bad thing to be a follower of Jesus Christ. In fact, that's what I said I subscribe to. But the labor of Christianity is a completely different establishment that really do not conform to the teachings of Jesus Christ when it comes to women and the issue of discrimination, and not only women, because a lot of things that Christianity is way off the mark as to how Jesus Christ did it and to how Christianity say it should be done. So because you name a movement or a group of people or religion and follower of Jesus Christ doesn't necessarily mean that it is a Jesus thing. Jesus Christ
or that Jesus is a member.
Oh, that Jesus Christ is a member. Exactly. Jesus Christ died and was gone ever since, way before Christianity was started. Christianity will quote Paul for you. And I ask people, did Paul die for you or Jesus? Which one is it? 1 minute you'll tell us, Paul said women should be silent. Paul said women should do this. Paul said women should do that. Paul said, but you have somebody that you started a whole religion on, and you just do not reference how he did it, what he said, how he, the examples he set up. This is a guy who
you went to Paul.
Yeah, because right. And then because you use Jesus' name on a religion, so you want to tell us it is a Jesus thing, and people need to think so that they can be able to see the difference, because that's how that's why I've said New Day is a time for us to interrogate, to investigate. Jesus, the Christianity, the people who their traditions and practices were Christianity inherited were the Jewish people. They have their own religion now, Judaism, because they then said they and Jesus didn't even agree. So he walked away and he started this. So when Christianity got ready to compile what we refer to as our holy book today, which is copy, what the Judaism had, and then we added our later part with Jesus and say they all in New Testament, right? But even you take the New Testament with what Jesus did in it, you ignore them. You do not even reflect on them. You do not even refer to them. They do not inform how you interact as human beings. There are a lot of things that Jesus Christ did to show you that this is how it was supposed to be done. He kept saying, from the beginning, this is how it was supposed to be. From the beginning, this is what was meant to be. From the beginning, this is what, but we'll always go way later to. But Paul said, but I get a lot of questions in my message, Yahoo Messenger like that when I do a presentation. But Paul said, and then I'm thinking, but even some of the things, that's another thing we can even go through and unpack what they attribute to Paul, whether Paul actually said it, whether they actually meant that. That's a whole, it would take 7 different classes to go into that because I had to do that throughout the years with my podcast. But let's come to Jesus Christ. Let's stick
Thank
to
you.
Jesus that you say you build your religion on. For instance, your society or the Christian or the people who you copy the tradition for instance, they consider unclean for a woman to have her period. For Jesus Christ to even show them that I'm not going to conform to that because it doesn't make sense, he he publicized the lady who touched him, something that could have done so that could have been done so quietly. He knew that lady touched him and he knew she got healed, but he kept asking, somebody touch me, somebody touch me. He was inviting her on his level, say, we need to defy these people tradition by so he said, what happened to you? And then she said, oh, I was flowing for 12 years. We know that Jesus taught as a philosopher. He didn't most of the time say, this is how it's supposed to be done. He did things and then he did parables and then he asked questions. The guy came to him and said, what should I do for me to be born again? He said, what do your Lord say? He said, oh, Moses told us we should keep the commandment. He said, okay. Then he gave example. And he said, love your neighbors and yourself. Then that's what the Lord said. Then the man said, then Jesus, okay, go and do it. The man said, but who is my neighbor? And then Jesus goes ahead and explain the story about the
Yeah.
Samaritan. And then Jesus asking, so among these people, who is the neighbor? He said, the one who helped the man. And Christ said, okay, go and do that. So he taught in the way that he will tell you, if you have eyes to see, you will see. You have ear to hear, you hear. Because what they have, he was in a setting where there was it was politically fragile. So there were times that
Thank you, Priscilla. Because I
there were
wanted
times
to.
that he wasn't directly confrontational. There were times he was, and he was directly confrontational most time when he went to the temple to rebuke the authorities there.
Thank you. This is my last question to you. And I don't mean to scare you, right? But the
No.
topic, I mean, I love this, is so interesting. We have a society where something of this nature that is so educational, that is so much that people need to hear, doesn't get all that views. But if somebody is talking complete what people, our Southeastern friend refers to as tabata, they have, I mean, people come around to see it. How do you feel coming into this kind of arena where you know that when a lot of time when you are talking something like this, you don't get the kind of attention or you don't get the kind of viewership that it deserves? How prepared are you to be able to change more minds and more hearts to want to listen to something that you are talking? Because this is just the introduction and I'm so much impressed and I want to hear more. What are you going to do? What is the new day method of bringing in more people? Or if nobody is coming, what are you prepared to do?
Yeah, the thing is, from the beginning, when I was coming to FOL, I was thinking the FOL, I will be more, stay with policy so that I don't overshadow my service or program or presentation with one religion because my upbringing, my orientation, what has informed my perception about God, my perspective about God is Christianity. So so I'll keep referring to it, even though I don't want to dwell on Christianity because I want to talk more policy. But so I'm going to have to now go back to use Christ to answer your question that we just read here. Christianity that today is so popular around the world. Um, Told us the Holy Book tells us that Christ started with just a handful of people, and then he's dead and gone long since. But today you either a Christian, you there are two major religion, Christian and Islam. So sometimes it's not the here and now. Like Christ wasn't alive when today everyone is carrying using his name for
Yeah.
Christianity. So I've always hoped that even tomorrow, if I'm not alive, someday someone is going to click on something that I said and will be like, "Oh my God, I wish I knew her." Uh, or because if there are, that's why I'm talking about studying history, because these people who life now I'm using to inform my courage, there are people who are long dead and gone.
Yeah.
So it may not be today. I mean, I will hope that people will come on, but if people don't, I just have the hope that someday, whatever we share is going to inform a little girl somewhere or a little boy to be able to interact with other genders other than the male gender, with respect and equality, and as they deserve or as the world should be. Because let me go back to as we wrap, or let me go back to in this whole Asian something. When somebody said, okay, somebody said, Alexandra did. Somebody said something about some fight started in Egypt, and that's how it ended. That was not my point. My point was that they enjoy prosperity because they live in harmony and balance of everything, including gender. For 3,000 years, women's status in Egypt was incredibly advanced for any time in world history, including the present. Equality and respect for women continued throughout for 3,000 years until Egypt was annexed by Rome. Women's status began to decline in Egypt with the rise of Christianity. So let's say whatever that person was trying to say happened, but things changed and women's status began to decline in Egypt with the rise of Christianity in the 4th century CE. And it's believed because Christianity brought with them, they believed that sin had entered the world through Eve's disobedience, and that women were of less value and less to be trusted than men. When Christianity came with that belief, in the 4th century, women, after 3,000 years of prosperity in that part of Africa, women status began to decline. The Arab invasion of the 7th century CE brought Islam to Egypt and effectively ended the kind of equality women had known in the country for almost 3,000 years.
Thank you,
So we
Priscilla.
need to learn these things. We need to study these things so that we can be able to define ourselves, so that people are not telling us over and over, oh, you're an African woman, you're supposed to be so serving.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to interrupt the broadcast with breaking news. This is a popular demand by some of our viewers, especially Massa Washington. So today we find a video on the internet that's giving the break. No, let me not spoil the story. So we're going to interrupt this broadcast with a breaking news from Jerusalem.
3 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Anya Carl. In lieu of our
What happened to our breaking news?
Breaking news, what's going on?
regular news, this is a Spirit Radio special report.
Dennis, I think you can play it from your phone through the speaker.
All right.
Yeah.
We will interrupt that and play the breaking news.
It's 3 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Anya Carl. In lieu of our regular news, this is a Spirit Radio special report. The death has occurred in the Roman province of Judea of Jesus of Nazareth, The popular teacher and religious leader was executed by crucifixion along with 2 other prisoners this afternoon on Mount Calvary in Jerusalem. The 33-year-old, also known as Jesus Christ, was arrested on Thursday evening. It's understood one of his friends, Judas Iscariot, assisted authorities with their inquiries and subsequent arrest. After cross-examination overnight by officials from different jurisdictions, Governor Pontius Pilate ordered the execution this morning. Eyewitness reports from the trial suggest the governor's initial verdict to release the Nazarene without charge was reversed, following representations from local religious leaders. The convicted man was forced to carry his own cross to the execution site. The crucifixion was carried out at midday and his death has been confirmed, with cause of death recorded as asphyxiation brought on by scourging, crucifixion, extreme exhaustion and loss of blood. Rebecca Ryan has more.
Jesus Christ, the son of Joseph, a carpenter from Galilee, was born in Bethlehem. His family moved to Egypt for an undisclosed period before settling in Nazareth. Jesus worked as a carpenter in the family business and more recently as a traveling teacher and preacher. He was known for his ability to heal physical conditions, including epilepsy, blindness, and paralysis. He was praised for reaching out to the lonely, poor, and marginalized, and for his unique insights and teaching style. Last year, a wide range of media outlets reported eyewitness accounts of a miracle where Jesus fed in excess of 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. He is also reported to have brought people back from the dead. Jesus divided public opinion by identifying himself with messianic claims in the Hebrew scriptures and angered religious leaders by claiming to be God's son, which constitutes blasphemy under Jewish law. Other scholars criticized him for claiming to have the authority to forgive sins. Jesus was in Jerusalem to celebrate the Jewish feast of Passover this week. On the night of his arrest, he held a Passover banquet with his friends where he's reported to have foretold his death. The number of followers of Jesus' movement is not known, but is thought to be in the thousands. Most commentators believe these will disperse following the execution of their leader. Jesus is survived by his mother Mary. In lieu of flowers, the family has requested that everyone try to live as Jesus did. Donations may be sent to anyone in need. Reporting from Jerusalem for Spirit Radio, I'm Rebecca Ryan.
Meanwhile, doubts have emerged over the legitimacy of the trial of Jesus of Nazareth. A member of the Jewish Council claims that council procedures were circumvented by holding court proceedings at night. There are also concerns that Judas Iscariot may have received financial inducements from temple authorities to inform on his former boss. In a dramatic twist of events, the body of a man believed to be Mr. Iscariot has been found today in a field close to Jerusalem. Police are not looking for further witnesses. It is thought that Mr. Iscariot's untimely death could hamper inquiries into bribery allegations. The body of Jesus is to be removed to a stone grave near Calvary, donated by Joseph of Arimathea, who was a friend of the family. Local politicians have called for a 24-hour armed guard to be mounted outside the tomb because of concerns that it may be robbed. It's understood that Governor Pontius Pilate has consented to these security measures. And that's your special report at 3 on Spirit Radio, the home of positive hits and inspiration for your day.
And this was brought to you, was relayed right here on Focus on Liberia, broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Mr. Sieh, we're about to draw down the curtains.
Dennis, the story of Comrade Jesus is an amazing one. And that's why I always refer to him as Comrade Jesus. He was an excellent representation of, fierce advocacy for social justice and human rights. And so, like Priscilla said earlier, the political establishment felt threatened. The guy was coming, he was getting popular. Maybe someday he was going to run for office. And so they went after Comrade Jesus, and he was arrested. He has to be crucified. And that's how the political elite at the time saw him. But today, a Christian see him as their Lord and Savior. So we are divided. That is why this show, New Day, will help us go into the history and be able to see how women play a role then, how culture, the Bible, the history, and everything will help to inform us as a people in making decisions. And again, we emphasize when we're talking about women and gender issues. This is a brand new show, and people are going to love it.
And this is indeed a brand new day. African tradition started the recognizing of women even in my own village. In my tradition, the boys are named after their mothers, and the men are named after their fathers. So if you hear my name is Chiwule and my mother is Tane, so if you see Tane Chiwule, meaning Tane's son Chiwule. So in our African tradition, there has been recognition for women. In fact, the biggest drum that we use to transmit messages from one village to village is always named after a woman. I shouldn't say always, but it's named after a woman. So women have been playing a pivotal role in our society. Even at a time that women were not voting in the United States, women were free in my village, all the way beyond God back in Dodwicken. And so the new day is going to open our eyes to these things so that we don't think that our society is subjugating women, and the Western worlds that were subjugating women is telling us what to do. I love the new day, and I can't wait for Priscilla to lay out on us. Priscilla, thank you so much for coming and agreeing to do this. And we will, at this time, take your closing comments and just give us a gist of what we expect to see within the coming weeks and months.
Okay. And call family, the FOL public policy analyst, has said that before during one of her presentation when she was telling us, was it her or Dr. Burroughs? But I've heard a few of the historians even point that out. And just to add to what you were saying, that the whole practice of taking the husband last name or taking the father last name, it wasn't something that our people were practicing. It was okay. I think it was called. It was passed down. It was brought through the Western influence. Of that.
Brought that to us.
Yes, of that taking the last name. Otherwise, yeah, it wasn't like that. Anyway, so my closing comments, even though I don't want to dwell mainly on religion, but I know that we are so religious as a people. Liberian, we're so religious. So a lot of times I know I will get this. But the Bible says, and the Bible says.
We want to know for your closing what is to come.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to be like we stated, I think from the beginning, we're going to be inviting public policy makers. We're going to be inviting religious community, the authorities. We're going to be talking more. We're going to be engaging. We're going to be interacting with the audience, with the public. We're going to be encouraging dissenting views, no personal attack. I know that the things we hold to be true, when they're being challenged, some of us get upset, it generates mixed feelings. Some of us, we really we resort to doing a lot of ugly things. For some of us who don't know how to process and deal with new information, I would just encourage us, let's be open-minded. You don't have to take my word. This is a time for us to study. I encourage us to do that. Put some good time, invest in yourself to get to know how you came about. Learn your history. We have a whole channel here or program here dedicated to learning your history. Know yourself so that others do not define you. And when you get to know your history, you will know how we arrived at where we have arrived. And it's going to inform how you relate to other people who are now with, do things differently. That's why we say it's a new day for new mindset, for shift in attitude and mindset. Be open. Just be open. Be open. Do not be embracing everything that we're going to say here. Check them out for yourself. Study to show yourself approved, borrowing from the Bible. Study to show yourself approved. or study your history so that you know yourself. The Kenyan Nobel laureate says, an enlightened mind is never subjugated. The mind that knows itself will never be enslaved. That's all. Those are her words. The mind that knows itself is never going to be enslaved. So, like I said, toxic religion is rooted in fear about the afterlife. That's how they leverage the false doctrine of hell so that we do not question things. Fear of God's approval, God's rejection, abandonment, and punishment. That's the hallmark of toxic relationship. People are led to believe that our clergy, they have some innate authority. As long as they become clergy, they have all the ability to know things. So we leave our own destinies in their hands. The new day is saying this is a new day for you to take responsibility for the things you hold to be true, the things you value, the things you believe. Call it salvation, call it whatever. This is your life. This is your journey. Yes, you share with others because we all live in a community and a society. But you need to be inquisitive about your own life and about where you come from.
Thank you.
I don't know whether I close properly or because
Don't
You
worry
I
have
have
about
a
closed.
that.
I have a
You have
tendency to
closed
talk.
properly. You
For
have closed
Christians,
properly.
for Christian or God believing people, uh, faith is not a substitute for critical thinking. Faith is not a substitute for critical thinking. Let's think critically. Let's think critically. We are told to love God with our hearts and our mind. Don't love God only with your heart. Love God with your mind as well. That means ask questions. Ask question. God is not going to get mad. I don't think. For me, the God that I know to be God, who then protect us and take care of us and make us in their image and likeness. I don't think they're going to be upset. I think it's just a human parent projecting how they parent on God. Like you ask our parents questions too much. They say, you arguing with me. Oh, I mean you oh you and who equal. Okay, take your bag, and they throw you out, and then you lost your place as a child, or you're not eating. I don't think if you want to portray God as a good God, then why will a good God get so mad just for you questioning things? So faith
Thank
is not a substitute
you.
for critical thinking. Let's love God with our minds. Doubts are not a lack of faith. Asking questions is not dangerous. Women are not inferior. Get informed continually. It's a new day, people.
Definitely a new day. We still have few comments here. Master Washington said she's loved the show already. Alfred Booty said you are doing the necessary and extraordinary work. It will go viral one day. Our colleague here, Lowenthal, said the Gula ethnic group is matriarchal society also, just like ours. The goddess Mad represented truth, justice, balance, and order in our Asian African society. And
Thank you.
Priscilla, someone just asked me if you have a book out, if you've written a book that is out there.
No.
Not yet. All right, Mr. Sieh, we're drawing down the curtains. Let's do it.
Then talking about drawing down the curtains, you said something that I can relate to too. My name is Sieh. That my grandmother is Munan, so people that know me well will always call me Sieh. So I was being named, after my mother, and that is the African culture and value that we need to cherish. The westernized, so-called westernization is actually colonialism. It's not westernization actually, but this is how we will come to the end of yet another program here at Focus on Liberia. This time, the new day that is going to highlight women issues using history, using culture, using the Bible, using knowledge to question, to evaluate, to inform, and for us to interact in a more informed way. I love it already. Dennis?
Until then, watch at 4, we're going to come here with On Point, and we are going to be discussing some tough political issues. Then at 6, the FOL Justice Forum will be here. We're going to be doing part 2 of the Supreme Court. And look, for our opening case, we're going to be discussing the input of the justice minister in the ongoing case, and also the motion of judgment during trial was filed by the lawyers representing the defendant in the CPP versus UPALP case. What is the motion of judgment during trial? We're going to be delving deep into that. You don't want to miss it. And then tomorrow we're going to be live on Prime FM 105.5 in Monrovia. We're going to be hosting the Bombay County Association in the Americas. You don't want to miss it. Until then, we want to say thank you again, Priscilla, for coming. And we are looking forward to the show, The Noonday. I want to thank our viewers and everyone everywhere for always tuning in to Focus on Liberia. We never close a broadcast without playing the song that says, "We are all Liberians." Whether you believe the women issues are important or not, we are all Liberians. What we all need to do, though, is to do whatever it takes to make Liberia the glorious land of liberty, to go back to the original intent for founding Liberia as the beacon of hope for all oppressed people everywhere in the world. Have a good and godly day. Bye-bye.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.